Yeah. So let's talk about the reaction to this piece because, first of all, the mainstream media haven't picked it up at all. The White House press secretary denied it, I think, when they were asked by reporters afterwards, or they went out of their way of denying it when they weren't even asked. There's been some Republicans in Congress that are now asking around saying, wait a second, if this was covert, shouldn't we have been notified? What has been the reaction? What surprised you about that? What hasn't surprised you?
Well, I know that if you want to get away from the story, and when I did stuff, I mentioned the story I did on the CIA spying completely contrary to their every law set in the books. They were never supposed to touch anything like that in America.
Yeah.
I told the New York Times, I've been working on it for 2 years. I told my editor 2 days before I wrote 7,000 words in the paper with 7 unnamed sources. Okay. And nobody called up and said, who are the sources? They'd asked me earlier and they learned who they were. So on this story, they ran it all over the front page. And that's the power of the Times, which isn't being used now. But now you use the fact that I'm not naming a source. And I can't even say anything that I've learned that puts anybody in a room. Because one thing we're good at is finding out people who might be talking. You know what I mean? Right. At this point, anybody could know from the source. But I've got a long track record. That they walk away from this one has to do, I think, with the polarization of the press that maybe Trump started. Trump came in and, you either liked him or you didn't like him. We soon had Fox News and the New York Post and other papers who were more, I guess, to the right, more conservative. And then you had the liberal press in total opposition. So it was and it stayed because it's a Democrat in power. The Democratic Senate's not going to touch it. The Republicans own the House. The one guy the one guy that seems to be way out there, who's quite bright, is Jim Jordan, who's chairman of a committee. Jordan's really, I've watched Jim run. He was head of a subcommittee in the House at one point, and he ran hearings on very complex money issues. A lot of them money issues, and he understands things. He does his homework, but he's caught up in trying to find out what's going on with Hunter Thompson, the son. That sort of peripheral issue. Why they're not looking at this more seriously? You mentioned that there's some talking, but there's been no serious action taken to find out. And let me tell you something. About the power of the White House. This happens on the 26th of September. He stiffs Europe, basically. And 4 days later, there's a news conference, and the press corps. Jake Sullivan, who's the national security advisor to the president, one of the gaggle that was always for expanding NATO during his career. That's been one of his things. So Sullivan gives a briefing, and finally somebody asks him about the pipeline that blew up, and he does the thing. Well, we don't know anything, but he says very carefully, very interestingly, but Denway and Normark are going to be looking at it, and we'll, of course, we have no idea. It looks like the Russians did it. The Russians are behaving in the ways they do, dropping that stuff, the usual stuff. And no reporter seems to know what the president had said, the threat he'd made earlier. That isn't mentioned, because that's pretty important in my version of the story. Anyway, and he says there's going to be an investigation. The Swedes and the Danes are doing an investigation. So, okay, we got an answer. A month later, the Swedes and Danes, after their investigation, guess what they report? They concluded something happened underground. There was an explosion that probably was sabotage. That was their conclusion a month later. It's comical, really comical. And meanwhile, and so here's the president of the United States. He has the power to do something to send out something called a tasking order. The president can task the community, and he's got a lot of options. We have something called the Office of National Intelligence, which is the poobah. They're in charge of all of it, the known and the unknown and the down and dirty. And they have a director of intelligence who has the charge to do any investigation. He's not asked to do anything. There's also the CIA, which has a directorate of intelligence, which puts out a lot of superb stuff. All the machinations of the agency. Its intelligence is usually, it can sometimes be tilted, but a lot of times it's quite brilliant and very straightforward, particularly when they work with other allies. And nobody asks them. And then there's a little black intelligence service. I think one time it was called the C Shop, where there's the guys who write the intelligence for our boys who do stuff like in Norway. That's a separate wing. The way it works is the guys in Norway are known to themselves. The head of the CIA may know they're there, but if he asks, should I know more? They'd say no, and he'd say, okay. The White House only knows something's going on. That's the way it should be, and that's the way it was run. But they're not asked. So here's a White House that's talking about the Russians might have done it, and there's an investigation in Denmark and Sweden. But the White House isn't asking anybody in its own agency, which does superb work. They intercept, we have all access to all the communications. Don't believe we stopped collecting stuff from Europe. Please don't believe that. From your people. Everybody monitors everybody. The Merkel thing was pretty bad because it got exposed when she was overheard, but never asked. So ask a smart guy inside, as I have. So why didn't they ask? And the answer is, well, because they knew the answer. Why would you ask the community to do something and have them find out what we know? We know we did it.
Right.
But
So
the press doesn't even think that way because I don't know why.
So all things point to this. This is the biggest open secret to everybody in the community. There's no doubt to anybody who's anywhere near this that the U.S. did this, from pipeline people to anybody.
The pipeline people and the people who were involved working with the companies. Don't forget, it was a huge, big enterprise that put 1,500 miles of pipe underwater. And there was a big community, and they had a lot of people they hired to represent them in Washington. And a lot of very good oil people worked for them. And also all the poobahs that own the companies that finance the piping is usually done through you'll go to some major slush fund and get money from them, an investment corporation. But basically, I know I have physical reason to know things in my hand that they all understood right away it was Russia. It was not Russia because that made no sense. They all understood the only player was, I don't know, is Montenegro part of, I always keep forgetting to look, is Montenegro part of NATO? Maybe not, Montenegro did it by itself, but I can guarantee you NATO didn't do it because they'd be shooting themselves in the foot.
My name is Jim Rickards. I'm a former advisor to the CIA, Department of Defense, and the White House. In a moment, you'll have my own evidence that very few people have seen. You'll see how I believe two acts of democratic stupidity are about to combine into a storm that will change America forever, the American energy Armageddon. In fact, due to specific circumstances created by the Armageddon, it's possible you could now win big while others lose. You see, there's a universal truth. In times of crisis, money moves. During the coming energy Armageddon, most Americans will face new hardships, but not all. A few will win and win big. You're about to see how the energy Armageddon could create a one-time opportunity to secure new substantial wealth. If you want in, keep watching. Right now, today, America is running out of gas, diesel, and oil. Our national fuel reserves are down 50% or more from where they should be. It's so urgent, major suppliers are calling it a code red emergency. We don't have the refining capacity to catch up, and we're shipping most of what we have to Europe to bail them out of Calamity Joe's Nord Stream crisis. We're now facing catastrophic fuel shortages I predict will collapse our nation's energy grid. When it happens, every citizen will see firsthand the Dems' obsession with green energy is a scam. In fact, I'm going to show you my evidence that outs them as shameless hypocrites. That's not all. I predict this storm will bring about a new social order to our country. Many who are now rich will find their accounts drained, and those who are poor will turn to desperate measures to survive. I'm talking about civil unrest, a massive crime wave, and violence in our streets. Most will suffer under Biden's energy Armageddon, but not everyone. Some good Americans will win. They'll take advantage of wealth-building opportunities created by the upheaval, which I'll reveal here today, to vastly improve their personal economic situation. And that's the most important thing I want to share with you. Now, if the idea of winning while others suffer makes you uncomfortable, no problem. Then this presentation is not for you. But the way I see it, our great nation was built during times of crisis when a few smart people recognized opportunity and seized it. If you see the storm coming, if you know Calamity Joe and his ilk are steering us straight into it, and you want to not just survive, but thrive by using the crisis potentially to grow your personal wealth, then you're exactly who I want to reach today. Give me about 3 minutes of your time. I'm going to show you everything right now.
The greedy bankers,
are about to do it again. In 2008, they crashed our financial system and nearly bankrupted the entire global economy. Then they received trillions of dollars in government bailouts. And after, they demanded fat bonuses paid for by you, the taxpayer.
It turns out the banks haven't just been screwing the American taxpayers, they're also screwing over their investors. Turns out the banking industry is the worst place you could put your money, despite enormous taxpayer bailouts.
Now the bankers are back to take away your financial freedom. They lie and tell you that cryptocurrency isn't safe. They try to make it illegal for you to choose how to invest your hard-earned money. They lie and say cryptocurrency is used by money launderers and criminals. But look at the record. It's the banks themselves that launder hundreds of billions of dollars every year to the biggest criminal operations in the world.
Leaked documents have revealed how some UK banks have helped criminals, money launderers and Russians under sanctions.
American authorities discovered that the Sinaloa cartel moved $881 million through HSBC accounts as bank officials turned a blind eye to the illegality.
The bankers lie and say cryptocurrency is not a real investment. Meanwhile, the smartest CEOs in the world are buying billions and billions of it. The truth is that banks lie about cryptocurrency because it makes them scared. The banks take $9 trillion per year of your hard-earned money, and they are worried that they will finally be exposed. They're scared because crypto means they can no longer control your money, which means they can no longer control you. They are scared because you might actually understand your money and intelligently decide what to do with it. Now is the time for us to come together, fight back, and take control. It's time to educate ourselves, our families, and our communities. Because financial education means financial freedom. We know that cryptocurrencies will help us build the new decentralized financial system of the future. A banking system that is of the people, by the people, and for the people. A banking system where access to finance is a fundamental human right. A banking system that is free and fair and welcomes all humans on this earth. The DeFi revolution is happening. We, the people, can no longer be fooled. We choose to take control of our finances. We choose to take control of our freedom. We choose to take control of our future. Join us, and let's take back our financial freedom forever.